G'day, bird nerds, nature nuts, plant nerds, gardeners of all shapes and sizes. I'm Grant, I'm a bird nerd. This is the Bird Emergency Habitat Gardening edition for Saturday morning. How are you? Where are you? What's up? What's planned for this morning? It's going to be short and sweet today because I just thought about a couple of simple things that you can do any day when you're visiting friends and family. Always have some plastic bags in the boot of the car. Perhaps take a spade. What I just want to encourage you to do is, because we've been approaching most of the discussion that we've been having on this show with native plants and indigenous plants, and certainly if that's what you want to do it. If you have access to those plants, by all means, go for it. But I don't want people to think that they can't make a difference if they have a traditional style garden. If you're already in an established garden and it's the traditional path up the middle from the front gate, bit of lawn on each side, garden bed fringing it at the front, and then at the back you've got your lawn area and then some garden beds and a bigger garden bed at the back. You can still make your garden much more friendly for wildlife. Now, let me just have a look at... hello, Glenn. Glenn's out and about at Australian Botanic Gardens, Mount Annan, playing with cameras. Being a Saturday, Glenn will be taking a photo of a mushroom or toadstool or some bracket fungi for Shroom Saturday. Fantastic. Good to have you here, Glenn. Look, while you're out and about checking out the garden, what's the highlight in the Mount Annan Botanic Garden this morning? I hope you caught last Saturday's show where we looked at a whole lot of Glenn's habitat garden, how it's been developing, the plants he's selected. I'll just check. Am I? Look, I don't know if we're live on. Apparently, we're live on Instagram, but I can't see anything happening on Instagram, so I don't know. So let's just cut to the chase. When you're out and about, and you notice that there is a plant that butterflies love, if it's friends and family, maybe ask if you can take a cutting, or if it's a plant that can be divided, maybe dig a bit out, put it in your plastic bag, and take it home with you. Without doing an instructional sort of video, generally tufting plants, kangaroo paws, lomandras, most grasses, things like lilies, clivia, all those kind of things, you can divide and take a bit home. Now, there's often in gardening books, they'll say the time you have to do it. There's a best time to do these things, but you can generally do it at any time. The plant might suffer a bit of shock, but in most cases they will recover. We'll just stop for a comment. Glenn's sacred kingfisher at the gardens today. Pardalotes. Which pardalotes have you got? Striated and spotted. Red-browed finches, grey fantails. Lovely. Also, since you're here with us, let's have a look. Who is here with us? X, hello, Twitter folk, YouTube, Facebook. Well, I know Glenn's here. He's on Facebook, and Twitch. Hello, Twitch. Let us know where you're watching from or listening from, and have you got a question that you would like to ask? Let's also do Q&A. And hello. Here we go. I can see we're going live on Instagram now, so they are substantially behind us. So let me just say hello, Instagram. Gardening questions, problems, in the comments, please, and we'll get to you. What made me think about this today was I walked past a one garden that has a beautiful Banksia integrifolia in it, but they have a lot of kangaroo paws and a really great gaura. And at the moment, the gaura is in flower, and the butterflies are going crazy for it. Now you're probably going to say to me, Grant, what's a gaura? Let me pull one up. Funnily enough, I never learnt this in horticulture uh, school, but it's called bee blossom. There we go. I never heard of it as bee blossom, but it is a butterfly bush. Okay, this is this is a Jennifer Stackhouse. So let's she's a good horticultural writer. Let me just share the page. And you probably will have seen this. Yeah. I have to let you know too, Loz just had a bath, is very wet, and therefore not on my shoulder this morning. Okay, Gaura, butterfly bush, bee bush. You'll see it in this white or whitey pink Gaura Lindheimeri. It's out there everywhere. There's a pink cultivar. There's a dwarf cultivar. There's a nice big tall, up to 1.5 meters as noted. The flower stems, fine grass-like foliage. You can just divide it up. You can just get a sharp spade in, cut a bit off, dig it up, backfill so you don't harm the donor plant, the parent plant, but bring it home, put it in a pot, bit of potting mix, nurse it, wait until you see some roots in the potting mix, like tap the plant out of the pot. I really need to show you this, don't we? But you know how to do it. Tap the lip, take it off. If you can see nice white, fresh roots, pop it in the garden. That's so I'm really looking for some questions today, if you've got any. Otherwise, I'm really just sharing the idea that that you can get good insect, bird, lizard, spider attracting plants quite easily. And if you if you see something growing that you like, don't pinch plants from people's places and don't pinch them from public places, but take a cutting, put it in your plastic bag, bring it home, give it a wash, trim off the excess leaves, make a clean cut on the bottom, just below a node, and pop it in some potting mix. If you've got propagation mix, cutting mix, great. But a lot of common garden plants are very forgiving. Give it a go. Put it on a windowsill out of direct sunlight, or pop it somewhere in a protected spot out in your garden, not in harsh direct sunlight, not in a really windy place, just in a nice protected spot where it gets a fair amount of filtered sun. And in most cases, plants will reward you. Apart from dividing up tufty plants, if you've got a plant growing in your garden or someone else's garden that you know well, often if they have long branches, what you can do is pull the branch down to the ground, lay it on the surface, peg it down or weight it down, put some soil and some mulch over part of it. And in a lot of cases, that will take root and start to become another plant. Then you can cut it off, and then you can pot it up and take it to your place. Obviously, you've got to be good friends to be layering a plant, for instance, like a water housia or a syzygium or a ficus. These are the kind of plants that you can easily do this with. Ferns, uh, ferns, orchids. There are so many plants that you can effectively get for free with the approval of the owner of the plant, or you can multiply in your own garden. Kangaroo paws, lamandras, so many of the grasses you can do this with. So I'm encouraging you to go out, see plants that bees, butterflies, birds are using, and see if you can easily multiply your own plant inventory like that. Otherwise, you can, of course, buy them. But I was just walking past this garden, I was just thinking, gee, that gaura is really big now. And in this garden, they have lots of space where they could be dividing up their gaura, and they've got some varieties. They got the green kangaroo paw, Anigoxanthus viridis, and they've got the red one, Rufa. They could easily be dividing those up now that the flowering has passed its peak, and fill up the gaps in their garden. I'm here for questions. I was watching Better Homes and Gardens yesterday, and I saw a terrific garden that somebody has spent, I think, 9 years creating, and they'd done a great job of filling up so much space and creating different rooms and creating little different microclimates. A real labour of love. And the person noted that they were very lucky because they have all day, every day to do things in the garden. Now, that's not the life of most people. So you've got to take any advantage you can to build your garden. And that's what I think. Gardens, you build and you create and you nurture and you nourish, and you will get a lot back from any effort you'll put into your garden. The other simple tip I really wanted to drive home today is mulch, 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 mulch. Mulching is your friend. And also, if you can, if you are developing a garden now and you are excavating, can I urge you to make putting a ring main or at least a main line for water access to the furthest part of your garden, and also, if possible, to the highest part of your garden. Make that a priority. You will not regret it. It may seem expensive to start with, but you will not regret it, and it will make installing subsoil irrigation, or if you want to put surface strippers into your garden, or create a waterfall of some sort. It's much easier to do it if you've got a water outlet at the highest point where you need to create a stream. So whenever you're doing excavation or something, think about doing that. I'll do a separate show on the materials you need to choose to do that. But the hardest thing is to dig the trench. So dig the trench. And it doesn't need to be really deep unless you've got other tradespeople coming in. Then it needs to really be below the damage that they could do with spades and forks. But, we can talk about that a bit more in a further iteration. Oh, look, we've got more people popping in. Nice to see Twitch with us. Hello, all the YouTubes and all the Facebooks. Let me have a look. Have we got? I'll just see if anyone's. No comment on Instagram. I don't know if it's really worth Instagram anymore. Let me take that out. Let me put me back up there. So, questions, comments, observations, a plant that you want to try, anything at all. We'll because I've basically said my bit for today. And I know I'm supposed to be inspirational, but yeah, that little hint. I know the other thing that I thought of, and this, and I must thank Costa. I saw something go scrolling past. I think it was actually on Instagram or Facebook, but it just whizzed past me. And Costa was mentioning something about fuchsias, and then I thought, birds love fuchsias. A lot of insects love fuchsias. Everyone's grandma or auntie or mother pretty much has a fuchsia. They are the easiest plants to take cuttings of. Fair dinkum. Take some cuttings, maybe that long, below a healthy node. If you don't know what a node is, it's basically where a bud forms or where a little shoot is. And as long as you cut below that, not in it, just below it, and then when you trim it up, that's where healthy roots will spring from in most cases. Fuchsias love to be cuttings. Excuse me. Some fuchsias that are multi-stemmed. There's one I think called Corall or Coralle. That's pretty common out there. Red flowers, but you'll often see with multi-stems. That will divide as well as be a really good source for cuttings. So get out into it. All right, questions, comments. I'm just I'm at your service. Oh, if you're new, I should note I'm a horticulturist, so I kind of do know a little bit about what I'm talking about. So just let's go for it. But the easiest thing you can do is pop in the comments and tell me where you're watching or listening from, and perhaps tell me at what stage you are at with your habitat garden. Beginner, established garden, modifying an existing garden. Do you have favourite kinds of plants? Are you a native plant fan, or are you a beginner? Are you just learning? Are you just starting? Best time to start is yesterday when it comes to gardening. Okay. Tick, 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 boom. What was that song? Okay. I'm just at your service. I'll check Instagram once more. Not much going on over on the Instagram. I might put the music on while we're waiting. I want to again say, if you didn't catch last week's episode and you are beginning go back and have a look. You will definitely learn something from the approach that Glenn Smith has taken with laying out his garden. What do we put on? Let's put on some daydreaming while we're chilling out. Saturday morning feels like a Sunday morning to me today. I took some cuttings yesterday of Banksia integrifolia, and I am trying some Eucalyptus leucoxylon cuttings just for fun. So let's see. All right. Well, we're not getting a lot on the comment or opinion side of things today. So we'll just let this track run through, and if I don't get any questions, I will wish you well on your trip to the local nursery or to the hardware store or the nursery supplies where you are going to pick up some potting mix or some mulch, or you're going to go and buy and look, so many plants that are, borage, comfrey, little herbs that you'll see. You can pick them up in the little punnets. They're amazing for bringing in butterflies and bees. Naomi, good morning, Naomi. Naomi's in the Blue Mountains. Established garden, gradually replacing plants when they die, trying to replace with natives but have had some failures. Okay, there's a good place to start. Why are some of the natives failing? Naomi, do you know what you have had failures with, and have you had repeated failures with the same general type of plant? That's always a good place to start. Also, Naomi, how did you go? Have you been pruning? Was it Pyrostega we were looking at last week? Did you attack the pruning with gusto? I would also think that climber or that creeper that we looked at last week, that would be so vigorous you'd have to really compost that in a fairly hot compost pile or bin to make sure that didn't sprout wherever you spread it around if you were putting it in mulch. That's probably one of the ones you would want to put through a mulcher first. So yeah, give us an update on that, Naomi. Let's pop into Instagram. No, nothing's going on there. Oh, I've got some messages. I do have some messages there. I'll do that later. Obviously, someone's been messaging me on Instagram. Yeah, so Naomi, let us know tell us the natives that you have had some failures with, particularly if they've been grevilleas or banksias or hakeas, dryandras, which are now all called banksias. There's often really easy place to start with that. Let's go into space with this music. Is the music too loud too, folks? Let me know. It's generally three main reasons for failure. Oh no, I did a bit of pruning but dislocated my hip. Oh my goodness. My failures seem to be due to shade. Okay. Had a variety of plants in certain spots fail. Grevilleas and Hakeas. Okay. In established gardens, especially if you are fertilising in other parts of the garden for, maybe you've got bulbs or hellebores or things like that in the ground, or you're fertilising, old established trees and you're using all-purpose garden fertiliser, non-native garden fertiliser, runoff of a high phosphorus fertiliser is death for any of the plants in the Proteaceae family, which are Banksias / Dryandras, Hakeas, Grevilleas, Proteas. Let's see what else. Macadamias are in that family. There's many more, but they're the general ones you're going to find in the in most nurseries, and that kills them really quickly. The other thing is too, you'll often be told that a native plant can handle, drought, or there's a whole. But plants are specific. Different species like different situations, different aspects in a garden. Heavy shade is the hardest thing to overcome, because if a plant doesn't get enough light, it's like if you don't get enough air, you're going to die. So that's a dead set killer. So is too much sun for plants that can't handle full sun. Okay, so you're not getting fertilised. Do you get runoff from higher up? That is the other question too. Sometimes your neighbours inadvertently can cause problems for you if you're getting runoff from anywhere, and from roads too. That's another one. If you get runoff from higher up, maybe you've got a busy street or something higher up, and that eventually, after heavy rain, runs into your garden. That can often be a problem, and not from fertiliser, but just from pollutants. But then you'll find not only will your natives have problem, lots of your other plants will, except the road. Yeah, that might be an issue depending on what happens with your plants. Leaves also tell you, in a lot of instances, what has caused a problem. So let me put it out there. I'm always happy to try and problem solve, but you do need to if you're seeing a plant that's starting to have problems, take photos of the foliage. Take photos. If you can have a look, you can see whether the roots are healthy. You can pull apart the spread off the mulch and see whether you've got nice, fresh, white feeder roots. Are there disfigurations in foliage or in fruits, anything like that? So, yeah, as much information as possible. But generally, foliage is a really good indicator. Fresh foliage too. I used to always, people would come into the nursery and bring me a plant that is desiccated. It's completely dry. It probably died 3 months ago, but they've brought it in and said, "Why did my plant die?" Well, sorry, can't help you. But we've all got the camera, the phone. Take pictures of the foliage if it's looking dodgy. Any obvious scale or insect infestations, any disfiguration of foliage too, shoots, they're really good indicators. So Naomi doesn't fertilise, but she uses Charlie Carp. That's generally pretty good. You've really got to dilute it. If it's going on Proteaceae plants, it really needs to be diluted at least at least half the strength that it says on the bottles. Um, uh, compost generally fine if it's well aged. Um, yeah, but it does have to be well aged. Especially only with proteaceae plants. Only don't dig it in around the roots. Just use it as a surface mulch, compost. Um, oh, another killer of garden plants is if people are having a wee in the garden in the same spot. Runoff from lawns too. People often don't imagine that there's much runoff from lawns, uh, but there often is, and it's not on the surface. It's usually just subsurface, especially if you have not had regular cultivation. Water finds a way, and so if there's a lawn above a garden bed where you're putting in grevilleas, hakeas, banksias, etc., that can often be a long-term death sentence, especially if you're fussy about your lawn and you're doing regular top dressing, because over time that concentration of the fertilizer moves down. Now, if your natives are above, that's probably not a problem. And by natives, I'm talking proteaceae. Something like a eucalypt will generally gobble up any of the nutrients it can possibly get. But saying that, there are eucalypts which do not like to be fertilised as well. They like to be left alone. There we are. I don't fertilise the waratah or the protea at all. That's good. Just mulch them, prune half the plant per year. That's proteas are proteas, leucodendrons, all those sort of really showy proteas that are really popular in the garden trade, and waratahs. They're heavy feeders, so really deep mulch around them, but not up to the stem because that can cause collar rut. But very heavy mulching around waratahs right out to the edge of the plant. And native plant fertilizer, but I would scratch the mulch away, pop the fertilizer down in the slow release form, and then pop that down. Otherwise, Charlie Carp, if the plants respond, keep doing it. If you see any discoloration in the leaves, maybe a week or two after applying fertilizer, that indicates that there's a bit of potentially a problem with that fertilizer. So be careful. Aquasol is a really big killer of established natives in gardens, because people always think, "I'll just put a little bit more in." Now that's great stuff on your vegetables and everything, but don't put it on your banksias or grevilleas. Nowhere near it, please. And that's the other thing too, runoff from veggie gardens and things. So happy to talk about in the future problems in gardens, but need some photos or a video or something like that to have a bit of a stab. It's always good to have a good look at what is around in the garden as well. There are some plants, big trees, that actually when they drop their leaves are what we call alleliopathic, which means they actually have a hormone in them that stops or reduces the vigor, the growth of other plants. So it's often thought of that it's shade, which means other plants aren't growing under certain trees. But no, it's often because the leaves are actually a sort of natural poison. So again, there's all kinds of issues that might be, especially in an established garden. Um, uh, does that mean it, Naomi? Does that mean you haven't been able to find Grevillea shiresi anywhere yet? Um, uh, let me. I think that's what you were meaning. Let me just have a look and see. Uh, um, okay, I have found a couple. Um, Now there is a variety of Grevillea shiresi, which is not the one that I love, but it is out there called Forest Rambler. You should be able to see that many places, but I'm just having a look. Um, I have found a few. Just bear with me, Naomi. I'm looking for where these nurseries are. Okay, I'm seeing an online option here. Mother Earth Nursery. Let's see where they are. Now they're marketing one as Gosford Glory. They're in Kenthurst, Cranebrook, Point Clare. I'm guessing that Cranebrook is probably the closest to you. Now they are showing Grevillea shiresi. It's a pretty penny. I think they're only selling it in a large size. Are they? What size are they looking at? Yeah, it looks like they're being sold in a 10-inch pot. Perhaps that's an 8-inch, but they look pretty healthy. What else have we got? Grevillea shiresi, Eureka Nursery. Now they're online. They're online. What are they selling it in? Oh, hang on. Suppliers. Oh, they don't even. They're gone. Okay, they're gone. There's trig plants. Where are they? Here's a place selling forestry tubes individually. It's out of stock, of course, though. There we are. Naomi, write down trig plants. That's a good one to keep on your list. So shiresi is out of stock there. Um, okay, Naomi's saying she can't find the plant. Actually, thought it. Look, because you can buy such large plastic tubs now. That's a great idea. You can grow a plant up in a tub and move it around if you want, especially if you're growing other plants to fill holes. And while you're waiting for them to come up, use plants in tubs. There we are. So, yeah, look, plants are expensive, which is another one of the reasons why I thought we might talk about getting plants for free today. So, yeah. But also, look, maybe one day we can talk about. We might do this next week, Naomi. Maybe I'll have a look at what I think are really good, what are good alternatives or substitutes for Grevillea shiresi, because shiresi has never been very popular. So probably when they're in stock, there's probably people like me who will go, "Oh, it's on stock. I'll get a few of them," uh, because once you've used them, you know how adaptable they are. Um, I do know a couple of landscapers who love using them as hedging because they can be clipped, and they've got really nice glossy sort of foliage, and they're good for those difficult spots that are shady, not deep, heavy, not really deep shade, but shady spots that a lot of the popular hedging plants might find a bit too shady to remain dense. So you then lose a little bit of the appeal of having a close clipped hedge. So yeah, I'm sure that when they're in stock, I'm sure they don't grow a lot of them because they're not really popular, and I'm sure once they're in stock, there'll be landscapers who buy the lot of them. So yeah. Okay. So perhaps look, maybe we can maybe we can talk about some of those. Well, the plants. If there's like a bucket list plant, one that you can't find, let's see if we can track some down. Um, yeah. Uh, okay, folks. Um, let's see. Let's put on one more track, and we'll stay here until the track ends. Here we go. I might just bring the level up a bit. Questions, comments, problems, issues, wish lists, anything. And let's just have a look if there's any. Still no action on Insta. I'm ending Instagram. There we are. Instagram is gone. We'll discard that. There's no need for anyone to look at that. Okay. Oh, what's going on? What's going on? Why am I getting this? I'm really not sure what's going on with Insta. There we go. Oh, Glenn, you've just sent me something. Or no, that was a week ago. Oh wow. Okay, don't know what's going on with Instagram. We'll just get out of there. Come back here. All right, Naomi said you really like devil flower. Okay, devil flower. I think there's a lot of different devil flowers. Let me just see if I can find the one you want. Now, I've got a page up, Naomi, I'm just about to share, and you can tell me if Lambertia formosa, which is called mountain devil, is the plant you mean. Now, Naomi, let's just put that on full screen. Is that the plant that you mean? The mountain devil. Okay. Now, Naomi says, yes. Okay. Lambertia formosa should be widely available. In my experience, I worked at a nursery where we took a lot of cuttings of this. Also, it's quite easy to propagate from seed. I would not I would not encourage you to take anything from state forest, but it's quite common in parks. But certainly, let me see if I can find a local nursery for you that has it in Sydney, and this is the kind of plant that often turns up. Currently out of stock at Indigigrow, Sydney Wildflower Nursery. Let's have a look. Let's go to the L's. Lambertia formosa. All right. Well, it is on their stock list. Sydney Wildflower Nursery, Naomi, and you have to contact them for availability. Open 9 to 5, 7 days a week. They have a contact form on their website. sydneywildflowernursery.com.au. So start there because it's one of their standards. Here we are. Glenn's got a now let me I'm going to stop sharing that for a moment. What did you say? Warrior Pendy. Let's see if I can. Warrior Pendy Native Nursery, Colo Vale. Garden Centre in the Southern Highland. That looks like it. Let's just see our plants. Plant availability. Let's have a look at what they've got available in pots. Potted availability 2nd of June 2023. I'm not sure. HIJKL. They don't have it on their potted availability list. Let's see if it's in their tube stock list. Also not on their tube stock list, and that was also from June 2023. Yeah. But obviously, they're probably not spending a lot of time updating their availability list. Naomi, they have a contact form, they have a phone number. They're at 30 to 35 Church Avenue, Colo Vale, New South Wales. But they do have a contact list contact form where you can put the comment. So I'd be doing that. So yeah, I hope Colo Vale is the one near Mittagong. I know Colo Vale only from driving past a sign on a highway that said Colo Vale. Okay. Anything else? Anything else, folks? Anything else? My goodness. Well, hopefully we'll get the Instagram stuff sorted out, and maybe we'll get some more questions. Glenn says yes, that's the one. So Naomi, that would be where I would start. Sometimes to get an idea if things are out in the trade, just Google it, and you can. If you see that a number of nurseries are advertising it, well, then it's probably out there. I was considering doing a sort of a mail order, coming to an agreement with some really good tube stock nurseries and seeing if we can negotiate a sort of a mail order thing where basically you tell me what you want and then it's kind of like drop shipping, but I don't know if it's going to be possible. But I don't know if there's a call for it. Maybe that would be okay. But hopefully we can find you some Lambertia, or as I always say, Lambertia formosa. If you can't find that, there are Adenanthus that are good substitutes. And let me, and I'll show you. I'll show you them. I'll show you the Adenanthus. And there are a number of different species, and you'll probably all recognise one of them. But this is just what we see on the Google page. Let me pop it up on here, and we'll do the full screen. Hang on, there we are. We'll do the full screen. So Adenanthus is related to grevilleas and hakeas. The flowers look very grevillea-ish. There's a number of cultivars that are out there. There's this upright form. There are. Let me come back to here. There's this woolly bush, which is really common out there, the new growth. There we are. So they're, in terms of the flower, they're quite similar, but you'll find a lot of different foliage forms. There's a really good one. You get a prostrate form. Now they're really popular in the landscape trade, so you will find Adenanthus out there. So you can look for that. All right. I think we're done. I think we're done for today. If you're walking, here's another tip too. If you're walking around and you see a plant that you think is great in someone's garden, don't be afraid to go and knock on the door and say, hey, I admired that plant from, even if you know what it is, here's a tip, even if you know what it is, go and say, what is it? What is it? It's so beautiful. And people love to talk about their garden and their plants. And generally, if you say, oh, I wonder, would you mind if I took a little bit for a cutting? You might be surprised. They might actually know quite a bit about the plant and give you an idea of where to take the cutting. In general, you can tip cuttings, as long as it's not really soft wood, like it's not really, really fresh wood, semi-hard. And if possible, take a bit where you've got some side shoots coming off off a branch, because you can take some tip cuttings, and as a second option, your fail-safe option, you can take a heel cutting, which is the bit where the shoot comes off the main stem. And I'll have to do a video on taking cuttings, or maybe we'll just find some that I recommend that are really easy, that are really good instructional videos. I don't think we need to reinvent the wheel. I'm sure there's some really good ones out there. Naomi says, thank you all for watching, being part of it today. I am going to spend some time with Loz, and maybe I'll go and buy something yummy. Like, I nearly knocked off a whole cantaloupe since yesterday afternoon. Maybe I'll have to go and get a honeydew melon. I like this time of year when the melons start appearing. All right, I said I'd do one more song, which we did. Let's do one more, and we'll do the old Feeding the Ducks, which is my favourite. Turn her up a bit, and unless we get another discussion going, another question, another comment, I'm going to zip out at the end of this. Thanks for popping into Habitat Gardening. I know we didn't do anything really specific today, but hopefully you will. The main thing I want you to do is look around, just maybe at the car park. There's a really great callistemon in the car park at my supermarket, and Jennifer Bergeson, is that your mum, Naomi? So I've got two Facebook's loves, and one's Naomi, and one is that your mum? And look, Naomi, I hope your dislocated hip comes good. That sounds very, very painful. Not an injury I've ever done. I did once dislocate an elbow, and that was excruciating. There we are. That's Mum. Hi, Mum. So there we go. Very, very good to have you in the right squad today. So yeah, where was I? Just notice. I mean, look, there's a thing called Grevillea bitonata or Grevillea tripartita. You'll see it as both. Amazing for attracting small hovering nectar feeding insects and pollen gatherers. Amazing habitat for small birds. They're everywhere. You'll see them everywhere once you know what you're looking for. So write that one down. Grevillea bitonata, Grevillea tripartita. It's a ground cover. It can go rampant. It likes a slope. Look for that. And leptospermums, the good old tea tree. Insects love them when they're flowering. So you don't have to get something really exotic or really showy to have something that's functionally valuable for your local wildlife. And we hardly talked about birds today, so there we go. We sort of want to focus on bringing insects in and something that butterflies and moths and bees will enjoy. So hopefully we did. Oh, look, the music's finished. So I guess that's the time to bail out. I'm Grant. I'm a bird nerd. This has been Habitat Gardening, the offshoot of the Bird Emergency. Hopefully you are going to do some digging, do some spreading, do some broadcasting, maybe of some seeds, some mulching, or just head out to a nursery and get yourself a new plant for your garden. See ya!